Hello, right now we're going to talk about cars a little bit. And this is a big unit, so this is only going to be part one. We're going to have several parts to this. But, purchasing a car is a part of most Americans' lives, and it's a big part. So we're going to talk about a couple different ways that you can win at this, right? I'm a car person. I love cars, and I love shopping for cars and buying cars. But there are a couple things and parameters, if you can set in place, will allow you a lot of success, okay? I've made a lot of mistakes in buying cars. I'm going to share with you those errors so that you don't make the same ones, right? So this way you can hopefully save a lot of money, tens of thousands of dollars over the mistakes that I made. Okay, so let's kind of just talk about this just a little bit. Okay, today we're going to talk about the advantages of buying a used car. And then we're going to talk about what types of cars are appropriate for your scenario. Okay, so this is what we're going to cover essentially over a couple different parts. Right now, specifically, we're going to talk about why it's to your advantage to buy a used car. Okay, and again, I love cars. But the biggest mistake that I made with cars, by far, 100%, is buying them new. So let's talk about a couple scenarios here. The question is, do we buy new? Do we buy pre-owned? Okay. Well, new, they have that new car smell, and nobody's ever driven it before. And so we're willing to really, really overpay for the car? That doesn't make any sense. And that's their quickest way to financial ruin. Or at least to keep yourself poor your whole life is to go out and buy new cars all the time. Okay, that's the biggest item that we use as Americans that depreciates. Why are we going to spend all this money and spend just a ton of money on something that goes down in value? Okay, so let's talk about this. Let's say that you're a truck person. Okay, and this is the brand new Ford F-150. Price this out on Ford's website, $56,300 basically. Okay, nice truck. Okay, whether you're a Ford fan or whatever fan you are, it's a nice truck, right? Nothing wrong with that. The problem is, though, is that you're paying $56,000 for something that's going to go down in value. And here is what I want to illustrate. I did some research and I said, okay, well, this is what Ford's going to charge. What is it if I can just go buy one that's just a couple years old? So I found one, and this is very, very normal. I didn't try to look for the one-off that was just a crazy deal. This is very, very much normal, okay? 2017, so this one is 3 years old, and it's on sale for $25,000. Jaw-dropping, right? I mean, you're like, this is crazy. Less than half of the cost for something that's 3 years old. And it's usually got some miles on it, maybe 50,000 miles or so. But absolutely amazing how fast these go down. And so once you kind of learn the system a little bit, well, like anything, right? Like a board game, as long as you know the rules, then I can start to win at that game. Well, the rules here are that the cars depreciate in value, whether it's a truck or car. We're going to talk about a car in just a moment. But it goes down so fast that you don't want to own it when it's new. You should never, ever buy a new car until you hit a net worth of $1 million. And once you hit a net worth of $1 million, you're worth enough that what you're going to eat in depreciation isn't that big of a deal. But I got news for you. When you become a millionaire, you're going to realize that you gained your money by not buying new cars. So you're not going to want to buy a new car at that point either. So, and I have purchased new cars. So learn from me. Do not purchase the new car. Wait till it's at least 3 years old. If you can buy one that's at least 3 years old, it will have eaten up roughly 50% of its depreciation. Okay, so it's going to go down in price about 50%. Get in there, purchase the car at that point. You'll have a really good, reliable car that's going to last you a long time. I have one car that's we've owned for 13 years now. It's got 275,000 miles on it. These cars go forever. Right? Not all cars do. The one that I have is a Toyota that I'm giving you as an example, but we recently purchased another car for our household. My son's got a little bit older, so they're driving, and we needed another car. So I purchased one, but instead of purchasing a new one, I purchased a 3-year-old car, and I paid 50% of the purchase price on that car. It's not wild and crazy. All it is let someone else eat that depreciation, get a car that's really good and reliable that's 3 years old. Okay, so vocab word here, and those are the websites that I found these at. These are real life ones. I didn't make these up. Okay, vocab word. Okay, depreciation. So this is something that goes down in value over time. And what we want to do in order to create wealth is we want to limit or eliminate items that we own that depreciate, right? We want the things that we own to appreciate, to go up in value. We want to invest in those items. Those are stocks, those are houses, real estate, businesses. Those items typically go up in value. We want to spend our money on those, and don't spend your money on things that depreciate in value, okay? So those are cars, electronics, phones, those types of things, clothing, right? So we're not going to go out and buy $10,000 suit. It's crazy, okay? Save your money, invest it. Now, you're going to have some that you're going to have, right? You're probably going to need a car. You're probably going to need a cell phone. You're probably going to need a laptop. So these are things that depreciate. So what we want to do is buy these used. All of those can be purchased used, and it's going to save you a ton of money, okay? All right, now listen, if you're not a truck person, but you're a car person, and maybe you're saying, well, that's a domestic car. That's because America doesn't make the cars, the Japanese make the cars that don't depreciate. I got news for you, they all depreciate. So let's look at a car here. This is a Toyota Camry, 2020 Toyota Camry. I went on their website, priced it out, $30,000, right? Almost $31,000. And I said, well, for the truck, it was 3 years old, was under half. Let's try 3 years old here. And there you go. Right about half. It's right about that 50% mark, okay? So it doesn't matter whether it's a car or a truck. And look at these. There's not much difference between these cars. They're both going to be in good quality. This one's a little bit nicer. Sure, I'm not going to say that it's not. But wow, is it worth $16,000 or $15,000? No way. No way. Let someone else eat that. I'd rather buy two of them. I could buy literally two for the price of that one. And I'm still going to get good, reliable vehicle that I can drive on a regular basis. So that is my advice to you. Make sure you purchase it used. And the older that you purchase it, the less it's going to depreciate. Because when you purchase this 2017, you wait 3 more years, it's probably going to be worth maybe $10,000, right? It's still depreciating, but it only depreciated $5,000, $6,000 at that point. Versus a brand new one's just going to sink like a rock. So the older you can get, the less depreciation you'll have. So if you're a car person like me, and you absolutely love cars, and you want to really drive different cars, you can. Just make sure that you're constantly buying ones that are at least 3 years old. If you can get one that's 5 or 6 years old, that's kind of a sweet spot there. I purchased the ones that I purchase are usually about 3 years old because I don't want any headaches whatsoever. So I pay a little bit more money and I get the 3-year-old ones. But if you get a 5 or 6 year old one, that's fine. If you are someone who doesn't like cars, like if someone comes up to you and says, what kind of car do you drive? And you're like, a green one? Cars are really not that important to you at all? No problem. Here's the solution. Never buy new. So in both scenarios, you should never buy new, right? Just buy a used one. Get a good quality used one. You're going to be fine with it. At least 3 to 5 years old, and you're going to be really, really happy with it, okay? All right. And these are the websites that I found these at, okay? All right. A couple things I want to go through. Before you buy your car, number one, you must have an emergency fund. Okay, and we've talked about emergency funds in here. Emergency fund is the number one most important thing you will learn in this class. Because you have an emergency fund, it will allow you to purchase a used car. If you don't have an emergency fund, well, what are you going to do when your car that you purchased is used and breaks down? The air conditioning goes out. You're going to have to get that replaced. So you have to have an emergency fund. And that doesn't mean if you don't have an emergency fund to buy a new car. That's the quickest way to stay poor. Don't do that. Okay, so have your emergency fund first. Fully funded, 3 to 6 months of income. Just set it aside. Once you have that fully funded, let's say your car breaks down, and it's happened to me, and my car's broken down, and I had to have it towed in. They repaired it, and I didn't have a car for a couple days. Well, what am I going to do? Well, I got an emergency fund. All I did is rent a car for 3 days while they fixed that one. It's fixed, I'm driving it again, and I don't have to eat the $15,000 in depreciation. I'll let someone else do that. Okay, so emergency fund is a must. Okay, so have your emergency fund. Okay, next up, you have to be able to pay cash for the entire car, no loans. All right, loans, this is when you're going to pay someone else interest. You don't want to do that. You want to be the person who collects interest. You want your things to appreciate. So if you cannot afford to pay cash for the entire car, here's what you do. You don't buy the car. That's it. Okay? Go for a cheaper car. And if you can't pay cash for any car, then you can't afford a car right now. It's time to either just do a little bit of Uber or maybe some mass transit, maybe the bus, maybe the light rail, something along those lines. So what I would do is start saving aggressively so that you can purchase a car. In the next video, I talk about how you can purchase a car for less money. A really, really inexpensive car, maybe $1,500 or something along those lines. Okay, it's not to say that you need to buy a $15,000 car. You do not. Okay, so just get an older one. You'll be fine with that, and then you can work your way up. I'll talk about that on the next video. But you have to be able to pay cash for it. So emergency fund big, and then you got to save cash for the entire purchase of your car. And then the next thing is, and this is a general rule that you need to use, and this is for people who have really established themselves, or anyone for that matter, but after you've established yourself, okay, you're buying cars, you need to set a limit on how much money you spend on cars. It needs to be no more than 50% of your income. So if my income is $40,000, that's the average income in Mesa, Arizona, $40,000, that means the car that I own should not be valued at more than $20,000. And the goal behind that is we don't want to spend our money, our time, our resources on something that's going to go down in value. Okay, so what you don't want to do is make $40,000 and be driving around a $35,000 car. Even if you purchased it 3 years ago, 3-year-old, and you're like, oh, let someone else eat the depreciation. You're still driving a $35,000 car when you're making $40,000. That's ridiculous. No way, no way. So you need to spend, you need to have vehicles that are worth no more than 50% of your income. Now, when I say vehicles, anything with an engine, okay? So that means a car, a boat, an ATV, motorcycles, jet skis, any motorhomes, anything with an engine, all of those combined together should not exceed 50% of your income. We want to use the rest of the money that you've got, your resources, to grow your incomes. That's when you're going to be investing. Okay, so 50%, that's it. If it's got an engine, you're lumping it in, because anything with an engine depreciates. There are some rare exceptions, Barrett-Jackson type cars. You and I are not buying those cars right now, okay? When you get to that level, then we can talk more. But so no more than 50%. Now, my wife and I can combine our incomes. Okay, so let's say you and your spouse each make, let's say you make $50,000 and your spouse makes $60,000, right? Your spouse makes a little bit more than you. That's nice, by the way. Okay, so together you guys make $110,000. That means all of your vehicles, anything with an engine, should not exceed $55,000 because your combined income is $110,000. Okay? All right, that's just kind of, those are some general rules. This will conclude this video. This is part 1 of it. I'm going to talk on the next video. I'm going to talk about what you need to do to purchase a car for less money and how to eventually get out of that, that beat up car and upgrade. Get to a nicer car. So we're going to talk about that in the next video.